and had one of those near-death experiences on the interstate with a flat tire, and I think that was all she wrote for the motorcycle.
That's probably about enough, yeah. Well, my first experience was riding over the levee and going down to the river, and so you couldn't really hardly beat that. That was fun. No mud, no dust.
Levee rides are
just a
always
nice, just a real nice time. So today, my friends, if you are in fact motorcycle riding, or if you want to tell us about one of them, we're happy to take your texts. We're happy always to take your phone calls. And I know that during the week you will send things to me about, the stuff during the week. I'll get a couple of good stories, and I'll try and bring you an update next week for the ones that are in fact transmittable. There will be some that aren't. Now, I do have an update from last week, a follow-up to your question, Lance, about what in the world was about those blue cheese stuffed olives. Who did that? Who did that?
Who we got on the hook for that?
Well, sometimes a place becomes famous, and over time things change in that place, and you have to introduce something new to make it a little bit more interesting. The blue cheese stuffed olives, before they were a staple in martinis, that they were actually a side dish, like a pickle. They were a side thing. But they came to be because these folks were trying to rejuvenate a restaurant in Chicago, the Club Lucky. This was around 1990 that they introduced them. They were eating them before that, but this is when they introduced them in public. And apparently the Club Lucky has been there since Prohibition and before. And so it went through several incarnations. It's still there today. I looked it up. But the particular halkidiki, is that right? The Greek olive is the one that's preferred. So they're generally.
Yeah, I mean, you went on a deep dive. That's what I'm talking about.
I had fun. It was great. We happened to have some garlic stuffed olives here in the house, so I tried very hard to eat all of those. I didn't make it, but I tried very hard.
You gave it a good old college try, though.
Exactly. That brings us to the fact that now is garlic time, my friends. If you have not planted garlic, today's the day. This is the week. Now is the month. October, traditionally in the Deep South, some people go sooner, some people go later, but traditionally across the Deep South, October is garlic planting time. So I want to talk about that a little bit today. Our first text this morning is, I don't know where this is from, but anyway, white mushrooms are popping up in the raised beds. What is causing it, and are they dangerous around my fall vegetables? No, but you want to take them out and put a little bit of lime where they were, some garden lime, some Dolomite lime, because mainly because they're in your way. But secondly, because it tells you that things are a little bit damp and the pH is a little bit less than you might want it to be. But they're not going to hurt anything. We oftentimes have, there's some mushrooms in the lawn here that are teeny tiny and cute as they can be. Just don't dig them up or mow them over with the lawnmower. That's never a good idea. Anyhow, this is... Well, that wasn't for me. That was for somebody else. Well, we have interesting texts this morning, but these won't be. These will not get read. These will not get read out loud. Okay. Anyway, that's everything I know about.
It's usually somebody's mad at me, so
Well, they seem to be mad at the world in this particular case, so that's always handy. I have to say, among the photos today are a couple of my very favorite plants because they show out so in the fall, and I don't think people. I think we tend to look at mums and pansies and go, okay, that's autumn, and it is, but there's also Adam's needle yucca that's blooming all over the place. They are the ones that look like you wouldn't be able to walk through them, and you wouldn't. They're excellent for planting. My thought is that where they planted bodox, because the trunks of those trees were so thorny as impenetrable barriers, we planted in our part of the world a whole lot more Adam's needle yuccas, because they'll tear you up if you go to start walking through them, or if someone else tries to come walking through them that doesn't, unsuspecting. But when they go into bloom, they are a pollinator insect magnet at this time of year. The bees are all over them, everybody else too, frankly, but just a beautiful plant, and one that is a stately native. It's unusual because it is the only yucca that we have that can take water and all the other things that we do here. It is very much out of its traditional. You think of yucca, you think of the Southwest. Well, we can grow some of those here, but they have to be taken special care of in especially well-drained soil and protected in storms and all that sort of stuff, or they'll just melt in the middle, many of them. On the other hand, Adam's needle just shakes it all off. They just keep going, and it's a beautiful plant anyway. So that you will see today. And bleeding heart clerodendron, when you check us out at supertalk.tv, you'll see a crazy looking. This is the thing about clerodendrons. We like them, and yet sometimes they can be hard to live with. I'm thinking, of course, cashmere bouquet, the one that will spread literally under your house and come up on the other side. There's some that are just real bullies. But the bleeding heart is a totally tropical one, so it's not nearly as hard to contain or take care of. It's a beautiful hanging basket plant, unless your idea of a hanging basket plant is something that is entirely symmetric and perfect, say like a fern. If that's your preference, you don't want this one. But if you like things a little bit wacky, if you don't mind a nice tall central leader and some side branches that are kind of crazy, but they all bloom, so it's just beautiful. They make white bracts with a tiny red flower in them. Red heart in them. And that's why it's called bleeding heart. It's really very pretty. Just a lovely plant. And if anybody tells you that you don't want any of those clerodendrons, I'm telling you, you want that one. So this has been a beautiful week. I know that you all are seeing, no matter where you are, you're kind of feeling it. Your things are changing a little bit. Talking last night with our buddy Peaches Patrick about needing to figure out where you put the bathrobe that was a little heavier than the summer one. You needn't go walk the dog. You got to get out there and have a little bit more cover on you. I suspect Lance may even be wearing socks. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But we are, and I'm not, but that's because I'm not outside yet. So I have a brand new opportunity to talk to you today about a cartoon that somebody needs to draw. You know who you are out there. We have been studying Mars forever, right? As soon as there was a sighting of this red planet, humans began being interested in it. But here we are, right now, learning stuff that we probably should have noticed, but there have always been these dust devils. And when I think of dust devils, you think of all kinds of cartoon images and wonderful things, but at the same time, you'd think of them as not on Mars necessarily. It is actually satellite images from European orbiters, and then a whole lot of algorithmic machinations, mathematic people that are no more than I do. They have discovered that the winds on Mars in that area can reach 160 kilometers per hour. Now, what does that mean in English terms? That means it's a Cat 2 hurricane. It's about 100 miles an hour on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So I want to see these dust devils animated and dancing. Somebody needs to do this for us. It would be absolutely wonderful. Jason's sending us his beautiful backyard in Crystal Springs. I love, love, love Blue Morning Glories. I realize that they're not for everybody, because they do sprawl around and reseed and, carry on. But the flowers are just gorgeous. That's heavenly blue with that deep blue and really super white center. It's really pretty. Thanks for sending that,
Jason has been all over the western part of the U.S. for the last couple of months working, so he's home for 10 days. Shot us a picture of the beach a couple of days ago. So I was like, yeah, you deserve it.
I like it.
And then now he's back at home, and now I have a bunch of the Mexican petunias that look very similar as far as the purple and the type of flower. But man, I'm telling you, those hummingbirds are still they're finding them, and it seems like they're putting on a ton of flowers recently as well. Where I had 3 or 4.
They are. As soon as that rain happened, they can pop into bloom again.
Okay, well, they're doing a great job with that. I'm
and that,
impressed.
Of course, is right in time. Well, that's right in time for the hummingbirds that are still around. And I've also seen some beautiful. I was trying to figure out how to take a picture of the picture, but I couldn't quite get myself to that point. The migratory birds for the fall. There's so many of them. They're on radar. They're on satellites. They're on. You can see them. in their flocks are so huge, and they're just beautiful. It's really magnificent stuff. We're getting to see nature at her best here this October, I think. People will tell you that they have a favorite season or a favorite time of year, and I really don't, because there's something that I like about hopefully every day when I wake up, but at least every season. And I got to say, though, that October has a lot of charms. Pumpkins and sweet potatoes, and that's a good start right there.
Somebody brought in the other day I saw the first pumpkin flavoring for coffee. There's a 4-pack in there of different ones in the break room. Yeah. So you've hit October when you get the pumpkin flavorings coming for coffee.
That's right. Yeah, people coming in, they all smell like pumpkin spice at a certain point. It's kind of fun. Let's see. Mike, I'm seeing your Halloween costume, and I'm appropriately Halloweened. That is quite something. How short of a cutting can I use for planting angel trumpets from the stem? He's got a 3-foot cutting. I would make 2 of them. I would cut it in half and be sure you know where the bottom is, and put the bottom part of that cutting in the water with the other one. I like to do that in basically an old pitcher, or something, an old vase that isn't quite as pretty as it once was, or is not something you want to share with anybody, and especially just to put it in the side. They'll root in about 3 months. No problem. No problem. Oh, I like it when people agree with me, of course. October is as good as it gets.
We have everything going on in the sport world, too. Not only you're ramping up for the holiday season, and you're getting all the stuff out, and everybody's getting excited about seeing all the relatives, but you also have all the sports. Exactly.
There's a game every day.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
Something you want to see. I mean, there's something you can go watch literally every day. Someone published the other day a listing of everything he was going to watch. He said, you can see that I'm not going to work anytime soon.
Dude, there's, when you play hooky, you don't have to worry about rifling through your Netflix account. You can just go watch sports.
Just go watch sports.
Well, you got NFL, MLB, college football, all the different footballs. You got basketball coming back around, baseball winding down. I mean, it's so much. And then you have the other the lady sports. Then cars and horses, and it seems like this is that golden moment in the year, where you're not going to be bored.
Exactly, and everybody's trying for your attention, so they're doing a pretty good job with stuff.
Then all the new stuff comes out generally in the fall too, with all your new shows. So like Family Guy and some of the good stuff like that. The great comedy creators.
I'll talk High Potential.
It's good stuff, though. I love this time of year.
Seen that.
No, I haven't.
You need to.
Been watching Task and a couple others.
I'm really trying to. I'm into the solvable mysteries. I don't need anything to take me to next week.
Right. You want to, you need to.
I want it done.
The Perry Mason, Andy Griffith. I grew up with. I hate having to wait. I like knowing who done it before the show's over.
And that's why we buy plants instead of seeds sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Okay.
I didn't think I bought that.
I don't want to wait for that, and I don't want to see what that's going to be either in some cases. So I'm on the hunt this weekend for more lettuce plants. I've got another container I want to fill up with lettuce, but I don't want to grow this one from seed. I want to see it, and I do think that's part of what autumn is about. You don't mind putting on a jacket and going out at night and watching a football game. You don't feel like, somebody needs to dump that Gatorade on your head by the time it's over.
Well, and it's a visual.
It's so pleasant. It's so pleasant.
Well, this time of year so visual, too, with all the decorations. And some people really do take it to the nth degree with Halloween. I mean, I love watching the folks that are the early bird to it, and then watching the rest of your neighborhood kind of, it's time. Yeah, we better catch up.
Yeah.
But there's always one or two that just really do something spectacular.
Coming along about midway into October is when all that stuff goes on sale.
Yeah.
So you can go get next year's Halloween stuff, and they're already having deals on Christmas and every Thanksgiving. What happened to Thanksgiving? I need more gourds and fruit and stuff. But anyway, that's really a good time to do all of that. We've put up a few things here, but the neighborhood that this studio is in, where I am today, is absolutely decoration crazy. I mean, they have tubs of it, and there's probably 15 10-foot tall skeletons already up when just driving through the neighborhood.
Well, I mean, and the great thing about
we're big
where
on
you
it.
Yeah, where you are, it's just almost like part of the the feel of Halloween is the raised graves. I mean, you got the down there in swampland. They have to bury them above ground there, and so there's just something about Halloween and New Orleans in that area. It's just
there's
like,
a lot.
Yeah.
It's clearly I will be in the suburbs. Thank you very much, handing out candy to the trick-or-treaters, but there's a whole lot going on for folks that are interested in having a little bit of a witchy experience. No doubt about it. Halloween has got you covered.
Do they do any
doubt.
fun stuff down there in like the gardens or the cemeteries or like the old tours?
I'll send you some stuff.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
send
cool.
you some stuff. This weekend is the Barbecue and Blues Festival, and that's of course always fun because there are people who actually dress up and go to that because it's a good reason
New Orleans
to dress
is
up.
like, dress up anytime there.
But I have to tell you,
I probably give you a $20 bill.
I'm not going to tell you any lies. If you take the tour out into the Brandon Crossgates neighborhood, if you happen to be there, Peaches Patrick has got every Halloween bauble that you can imagine, and it is all very tastefully arranged too. Yeah. I don't know how you do that with witches and flying ghosts and things, but there they are. So somebody tell us some more, y'all. Send us some pictures. We'd love to in the next couple of weeks be able to share all that with folks all around.
Of course.
I think it's fun. People, a lot of people are going to decorate a lot more than me. I'm pretty good about getting a balloon, putting a pillowcase over it, and putting some eyes on it, calling it a ghost. But that's about as far as I can go. I'm not doing as much as I appreciate, put it that way. Let's see. October is as good as it gets. We're going to take that as our basic info today because that's fun. So much to talk about in the garden right now. It's time to worry about garlic. It's time to worry about, oh gosh, so many things. People worrying about their evergreens. Calm down. Your evergreens are going to be fine. How's that? Oh, my goodness. This is the Garden Mama Show. We thank you so very, very much for putting us in your ear this morning or, whenever you happen to be listening. The rebroadcasts are on Sunday, of course, and then we're on YouTube all the time. Stick around. We'll be right back live here in just a couple of minutes. Nothing quite like a Hammond B3. That's the organ you're hearing.
I was about to say, I don't know what organ that is, but I want it.
And I'll tell you what else. The Leslie, the speaker amp, the amplifier that goes with it is the one that whirls around and has big tubes. It's just a magnificent thing. They're heavy as lead, and everybody should experience them along the way. Magnificent musical instruments.
My favorite. That's the pipe organ. My favorite instrument. I'll go to my grave with it. I love it. It's just so it's so moving, especially to be in the vicinity of a player and there in the room while it's being played. A recording does sound good, but there's something extremely moving about it.
No, there's a lot to be said about attending live music at every opportunity because it does change you and it changes the music. You get a chance to hear things that you wouldn't have necessarily caught, and at the same time you get the other people around you's beautiful experience with you. That's why we talk about music being the universal language. It's that's how they say they were probably singing in Latin, at some point back there. The Greek chorus even had their little musical moments. I don't know any of that.
Well, yeah,
I understand.
Also, yeah.
Exactly. I understand the play. Understand what's going on. So that's neat. Oh, this is really pretty. Ken in Pontotoc sent us a beautiful video, and also he has native sunflowers and native mist flower, which is the ageratum, the purple one. They're just beautiful. Lovely, lovely. It's in Pontotoc, so we appreciate that's our kind of Halloween decoration.
Yeah, that's the land of the hanging grapes up there.
Exactly.
I love Pontotoc area. What a beautiful part of the state. The state has such unique geography.
There's everything.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Ken's letting us know he's in Jackson. He has successfully propagated those rubber trees we talked about a while back.
Get some tires soon.
Mama has started having some new growth on her, and the babies all look terrific. So that's really a good project. That's really wonderful. And then he also grows the wandering Jew. He says, I've also heard it lately called wandering dude. Well, I'm going to just tell you that the other name that I've heard for it my whole life is creeping Jesus. Okay, because it's
they're all
Wandering
over the
Jew,
place.
Creeping Jesus. I mean, it's plants have names based on where they're grown and who loves them. That's why the strawberry bush is also known as wahoo. I mean, not the strawberries you eat, but the shrub. We give them names that we really like. It's really funny. But what you got here is Zabrina. He was wondering which one it specifically is, but it is, in fact, Zabrina. Really pretty. Very, very nice. Y'all are so sweet.
Wasn't
to
that a
send
movie
in.
with Julia Ormond also? Sabrina? I'm gonna look that
afraid,
up. My mind
I'm
may be
afraid I was
failing
going
me.
to say, you may have to look that one up. You maybe have too much karate. We shall see.
Never have too much karate.
It's a little bit,
No.
little bit on the unusual side. What can I tell you? This is one of those days. This is one of those days, my friends, that life is joyful and different, and at the same time, we're having way too much fun because, guess what? We get to celebrate the Rodney Dangerfield of penguins today.
Okay.
Yep, that's right. When I say penguin, what do you think of? Probably emperor penguins, whole flocks of them out on the ice somewhere, Well, this little dude is the African penguin. Never met those other penguins. They don't want to know about him either, or her. They are confined to southern African waters, and therefore today is the day for International African Penguin Awareness Day. They don't get no respect. Nobody messes with them. Now, they are fast swimmers, so they survive very, very well. They usually don't weigh more than 5 or 6 pounds is another reason that the lesser of the penguin, they are the lesser of the penguin species, according to some of them. So they're very cool, though. They're really pretty. They would make excellent stuffed animals. I don't know about how they dance. I don't know if we can animate them, but they are just really beautiful. They look rather like tuxedo cats because they have so much white and black combined on their bodies. Very, very cute, and frankly, they're not endangered. It's literally just because nobody cares about them that they have their own day. It's another thing I did a deep dive into. Just like, well, why do we have this, Why isn't it just penguin awareness? Because you would never in your life hear of the African penguins if it was just penguin awareness.
Now, where do they reside predominantly? Like
South Africa.
Right on the coastlines and
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Interesting.
They actually have some pejorative names because they're warm weather penguins, and that's the other thing that I can't say this word. Well, I could, but I'm not going to say the word. But it has to do with donkeys because they make a loud braying sound when they're trying to flirt with someone.
Okay.
It's another reason they're not that popular.
They can be a little annoying, maybe.
They're pretty annoying, apparently. Yeah, they're little. They swim fast, and so I get they have the qualities that don't get along with anybody else.
Aren't they the ones that were like?
that.
Isn't there one like in the Madagascar movie? The Pixar thing. Isn't there a little African penguin?
I honestly don't. There might be. I honestly don't know.
And two, yes, Sabrina is a movie from '95 with Julia Ormond. So I was correct.
No wonder. Well, I can tell you that if Julia Ormond sticks in your mind, then High Potential and Caitlin Olsen will too.
Some of this useless information I possess.
See, we just have to hold on to these things.
Head.
It's the quality. Someone was described. I described someone this week as the most fun person to sit next to at a dinner party where you don't know anybody else. Because this person can make conversation with the wall, and it'll be very entertaining. So I do think that there is that quality we need to have more of in this world. More useless knowledge that just keeps us all very happy.
Well, Amanda tells us that it was in the Bugs Bunny cartoon where we have the South African penguin. I'm just trying. I know I've seen the little dude because he's a cutie pie, but it looks like he could be, he or she could, be one of those that just kind of like follows you around. It's kind of like Ike and Spike. You remember the cartoon?
And that is really their tendency to like people is not returned by the people.
The people don't care as much for.
So.
Yeah. It may be like the little monkeys that come steal your stuff if you're sitting in like a bazaar somewhere, and they're like, everybody's like, we know that guy. Yeah, he's not our friend.
The towns where the cats just move in.
Yeah, they just lay around.
They take everything. So it's and I don't even think I'm going to try and figure out a way to get the garlic to ward them off, but I don't think it will. I do think you need to plant some garlic though. And if you haven't yet, please do. I'm going to tell you a little something, though. You know, you write about garlic and you talk about garlic for as long as I have, and you've enjoyed growing it for as long as I have. You get really tired of hearing about Bram Stoker and werewolves and all that stuff. I don't want to wear it around my neck to ward off, the demons and all those kind of things. Let's go to another story. You may not know the Korean origin story, which is called the Dangun myth. But around 2400 BCE, a female bear and a tigress shared a cave. That in itself is kind of interesting, but it's not the point. They prayed to the heavenly king to make them human beings because apparently that whole notion was good to them. They liked the idea. The king took mercy on them, but he gave them a very difficult task. He said that if they could stay sheltered in that cave for 100 days and not go out, eating only garlic and mugwort, they could become humans. Well, the tiger bailed in a hurry. Said, no, I got to eat the meat. I got to see the sunshine. But the bear stayed there, and she eventually became Unyo, the human, who was the founder of the first Korean kingdom when she had Dangun with the god. Okay, all this sounds real mythic and real crazy, and it might to you, but I'm telling you, the history of garlic in Korea is essential both to the cuisine and to the spiritual story of the origin, all right? So what does that mean? Well, what that means, of course, is that that's how we got kimchi, because it is joyfully eaten in every time of year, in every course of the meal. And as someone just recently was talking to me about, you haven't really had breakfast in a Korean household until the first thing you smell when you wake up is the kimchi with the eggs. So it is a delight. I've only ever had that for dinner, so I didn't know. I didn't realize it was actually a breakfast. But it is, because it's so deep into that particular ancient culture. Good. Who's calling us today?
Well, we have Mike, and he has a project he wanted to run by you, and it is he is planting angel trumpets and devil trumpets. So he's got.
Well, they are a little different.
Yeah. Right. Mike, you're up, buddy.
Hey, Mike.
Okay. Good morning. I guess you saw my hog head a while ago.
I did. I was talking about you.
That was spooky, man.
Yeah.
It is spooky.
Yeah.
That's hard. That thing's horrible. But anyway, I've got a project. I want to get the angel trumpets sprouted out and get them transplanted from cuttings. But also have some devil trumpets looking up at the angel trumpets. Do they grow the same? Do they grow the same time of the year?
Yeah, they both will bloom in the summertime. And the angel trumpets, of course, are going to be it's not that the devil trumpets are not a big plant, but they do face their flowers up, so they don't have that same dramatic dropping of the flowers that the angel trumpet has. So, but yeah, you can grow them both at the same time. Sure.
I thought that'd be kind of a conversation piece when somebody says, "What is these?"
It would be. It could be the clash of all of our ideals right there in your yard.
It's like having the little devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other.
Oh, and we all know about that.
The conscience.
Oh, by the way, for Halloween, besides the hog head, I got a glass table, patio table, with 2 wheelchairs, and I got a mama and daddy skeleton in it, and a kid laying down on the ground playing with the skeleton chicken.
Well, I hadn't seen the skeleton chicken. I hadn't seen the skeleton chicken. I have seen skeleton dogs, and they're pretty funny especially when they're moving. They walk with the skeleton that's walking them around the yard. So some of that stuff's really fun. I love that you have wheelchairs. That's great.
And also, another animation I do have going with it, there's limbs above it, so I use a 10-pound invisible fishing line attached to the arms, and every time a wind blows, the arms will move.
They move their arms. They dance.
And one of them has got a can in it. I think you know what beverage is in that can. And
Probably.
from the man arm.
Well, by all means,
me.
Take lots of pictures.
I have a weird sense of humor. I know that.
And we appreciate it here. I look forward to seeing the
Okay.
angel trumpets and the devil's flowers at the same time. Thank you, Mike. Take care of yourself.
Okay.
Fun stuff.
Mike's always a trip.
What a great fun. Gardening is supposed to give you that kind of joy, and decorating your yard is too. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Well, when he was telling me about his project, it brought up the memories of the cartoons and stuff with the little devil
Sure.
on one shoulder and the
Absolutely.
angel on the other, and the debate between the two.
There's and some days one wins and some days the other one wins.
Exactly.
Well, there's an old expression that says moderation in all things, even moderation.
Yeah.
Occasionally you have to be real good or maybe real bad every now and then. That won't hurt you.
It's not going to hurt anything, right?
Probably not in our realm. It probably will in other people's, but not in our realm. When we talk about garlic, we're talking about something that is essential to so many people's idea of what food actually even is. If it doesn't have, we want people to have layers of flavor. If you're just going to take a chicken and you want to try to get it to feed about 6 or 8 or 10 people, you got to put some other things with it. You might put onion and garlic. You might put garlic and rosemary. There's all sorts of things people use garlic with. But when it comes down to it, it really does depend on how much you like the particular flavor of garlic and which one you want to taste. A lot of people grow a thing called elephant garlic. Now, those garlics are about as big as my thumb on average. Some are much bigger and some might be a little bit smaller. But on average, they're about the size of your thumb. I mean, your whole thumb. So when we plant elephant garlic, we're still not going to plant it but twice as deep as it is tall. You don't want to plant smaller garlics quite twice as deep, though, because they really will rot if you have a cold soil. Elephant garlic's pretty tough, but some of the others need a better drained soil. It's also true, that we've got some things that are really fun to eat garlic with. I think we'll talk about that when we get on to a little more garlic, maybe today or maybe next week. Let me know what garlic you're growing. Do you grow hardneck? Do you want to braid them? Do you grow soft necks? Which one are you up for? Gardeners love our garlic, and we do grow it over the winter, just like parsley. Well, we got to step away, but we'll be right back. This is the Garden Mama Show. Nice way to start the Saturday morning. Thank you all for being here. Let's see, from Madison County. This is a good question. When I overwintered my flowering maples inside last year, they developed a mealybug infestation, which I successfully treated. It's time to move them inside again, and I need to repot them. Any suggestions to prevent a reinfestation would be greatly appreciated. Wouldn't it always? Mealybugs are one of those things that unfortunately we often bring inside with us from outdoors, when plants that we have had outdoors, because the conditions inside are so joyful for them. They love being there. They're very happy that we brought them inside, and so therefore they multiply every 8 days and make that sticky, cottony kind of mess, particularly, especially where the branch meets the stem of the plant. But it can also be anywhere. It can be under the leaves even. Sometimes they'll just grow wherever they can get started. My suggestion would be, and by the way, this flowering maple that she's talking about is a butylon. This is not a tree that we would put outside and grow that way. This is a plant that's called flowering maple simply because the leaves are maple leaf shaped. And then when you see the plant, you understand that it has all kind of things. It's called hanging lanterns. It's called all sorts of stuff because the flowers hang down. And they're beautiful plants. I congratulate you, first of all, for being able to keep them over the winter indoors. They're not really happy as house plants particularly, but you've done a good job, and that's great. It's time to move them inside and to repot them. That tells me it's also time to take some cuttings. And I would suggest that you do that when you repot them, because it helps to reduce the chance of transplant shock anyway, to cut off some of the top. And then you go ahead and root them, so that helps you get some more plants. I would suggest that this may be the case for what I used to know as Dexol, but that's probably not the right name. It is, however, a houseplant systemic product that you can put. It's an insecticide you can put in those containers as you're bringing them into the house, and it will take care of any insects that try to get started. You'll find it at the garden center. Probably have to go to a local independent one to find that particular kind of product. But you're looking for something that is specifically for use indoors, is why it has the old-fashioned name to me. But get yourself that. The other choice would be, of course, to isolate them when you bring them in the house and keep a close eye on them. Maybe even, so you can, at the very first sign or possibly even before, you can give them a quick spray with some insecticidal soap or something like that will help to slow down the situation. But you're right, it's a problem. And we often have mealybugs indoors. If you walk in your house and you find some plant sitting there randomly and it has mealybugs growing in it, get a paintbrush and just a little bit of rubbing alcohol. You can get rid of just a few of them like that. But when you have an infestation like this gardener is describing, it's a bigger problem and one you need to take care of. I think prevention is a very good idea. I like that. Let's see. Oh, Jeff says, is it too late to plant turnip greens? I said, no, it's a fine day to plant collards, too, as well as turnip greens. The gardening team's having coffee. So I want to encourage you, if you like a good cup of coffee, you should get yourself some Garden Mama blend. Get in
Absolutely.
touch with me. Mama on air at yahoo.com.
We need to get this in mass production. It is better than anything else on the market, and that is, I hate to do the picking because you take the kicking. But at this time, I'll put my reputation out there on that and say, hey, this is the stuff you want.
I agree with you. I'm picky when it comes to coffee. So, but having one that I like every time, it's consistent. They roast it for me. Makes me very happy. And you can have it too. So Mama on air at yahoo.com is the easiest way. We're just about to launch up some other things. If you're in the newsletter world, you've already got some links to take you there. And we've also got some links in the newsletter this week to start getting ready for some renewals on the newsletter. We got a couple of months before the new year starts. And this is really the time when you can not only get yourself a renewal, you can get a new subscription, but you can also get a deal on one for somebody else. Boom, your Christmas shopping's done. So I'm here to help.
And get Garden Baby busy. She wants to sell some of that merch.
She has a lot to do. She has a lot to do.
Ready for your order.
Ooh, Amanda, this is beautiful. Breakfast on the porch weather in Pike County. That is looking good. I could set up right there. I could be sitting there with you.
Yeah, I could eat that.
I love that
for
little
you, too.
table.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
I love the setup in general, just the whole thing.
It's really sweet. Thanks for showing that to us. Appreciate it. Coming up in our next hour, we're going to celebrate a few things. We're going to celebrate I Love Yarn Day. I'm serious. I like yarn, but I also like a good yarn. So we're going to go in a couple of directions on that. English majors joined together for I Love Yarn Day. And we're going to do a couple of other things. I've got some more plants I want to tell you about. I'm particularly in love with the golden rain trees that are changing their colors now. Jackie from Brandon's got a question. When to cut back hosta leaves? Do I wait until first frost? You can, and I prefer to wait until they're slightly, at least have been zapped a little bit. Maybe not, might be drought, might be chill, but that they've begun to turn a little bit, because what we want them to do is to translocate all that wonderful nutrient into the soil. So don't cut them back until they have at least begun to do that. I realize they can go pretty fast and they can look pretty bad in the meantime. So it's okay to do some trimming as they brown, but give them a chance to brown. Your plants will be happy about that. Oh my goodness, more flowers today. How beautiful. My goodness. The night blooming cereus, this has been a year for them all over the Southeast. People have been just really tearing up stuff, just gorgeous. And in this particular case, Mary, that's really beautiful. The cotton rose, cotton mallow, Confederate rose, that's a beautiful, beautiful plant. I love how those flowers change color. Just gorgeous. So pretty. Really, really nice. All right, now, we'll talk about it, Amanda. You let us know. That sounds like fun. There are always so many wonderful things to talk about when we get into our gardens. People are really passionate about their plants, and I can understand because I am too. I had to walk away from a beautifully variegated philodendron the other day. It was in a container too small for it. It was in the back of a rack at a store that doesn't have plants as their first priority, and they still wanted $30 for it. I couldn't talk anybody into reducing the price, so I wasn't going to invest. But I'm telling you, There's a lot of plants out there that we want to bring indoors, like variegated philodendrons and fancy things, fancy leafed dracaenas and one thing and another. This is the time to do it. Give yourself a chance to get out and get a couple of new plants for your indoor garden. And really, quite frankly, it is important to be doing some of that propagating that I've been talking about this morning. Oh, Andrea, that's beautiful. She has fall asters and some really pretty zinnias still going for us. That's just beautiful. Lovely sight this morning. I hope you're out there enjoying a cup of tea or some coffee or something and having a good time with it. We've also got coming up in the next hour new discoveries off of Australia that you may or may not be able to even wrap your head around. And quite frankly, the last time I talked about brown fat, it didn't go over well, but I do have something new to tell you about brown fat. Mostly I want to tell you, though, that today is Spread Joy Day, International Spread Joy Day. Well, we try to do that around here every Saturday. And I know for a lot of folks, Saturday is the day of the week they can get out in the garden. And that does give them the opportunity to do some of that. Spread a little joy, all right? Make another cup of coffee. Come on back around over here because we've got some more to talk about. I'll tell you what, if you didn't know I liked Boz Scaggs a couple of weeks ago, you'd know it now because he keeps playing this tune for me and I just have to dance on out of here. So here he goes. We'll be back.
In the dark to them.
They're just gorgeous. Porcelain crabs, too, which are extremely sharp-looking, white, pretty things, really gorgeous little things. But they were seen and described, but they had not been recorded within their environment, until now. So it's 2 new marine species. They've got their names and everything. Beautiful, beautiful things. I don't want to go back to school. Let me just put that forward. But I would really like to learn more about bioluminescence and how that even works.
Yeah.
I realize why it needs to.
Yeah,
I realize why it needs to, but I just don't. Why can't we take that and turn it? Why can't I glow? I mean, why can't we do that?
Yeah. It's always a great question, isn't it? I mean, like they developed and evolved in a way in which that became part of their DNA, and
that's to our benefit. And of course, now the lantern sharks themselves are anywhere from a few centimeters long all the way up to big enough to be seen by other creatures. So that's when they luminesce. Part of their quest is obviously to find other lantern sharks because everybody's looking for a date. But it's also true that there's an intimidation factor for things that might want to come and eat it when they glow up really loudly like they do, which is apparently very bright. It gets other creatures to get away from them. I like that. It would be so handy.
I guess if they liked
so handy.
Right. I mean, you would think that it would scare off some, but maybe even attract others.
It does attract. It attracts other lantern sharks, apparently.
Or maybe the type of food that they're looking for. They just
I would hope so.
Flicker for a second, and it just comes over and says, "All right, eat me."
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah.
That's right. Great question in the texts. And it always tickles me when I feel somebody said to me once, why is it that people ask questions? Why they always ask the same questions? Why don't they listen? You said it's so-and-so and so-and-so. Whoa. You don't understand my job. My job is not to give the answer once and go home. My answer is to answer that question for anybody that has that question. And because I might get better at answering it, it could be helpful to the people that already have heard the other answer. So that's my point of view about it. And in fact, thanks for answering my question about the Abutilon. I've taken several cuttings for the last couple of years with no luck. Do they? This is such a good propagation question. Thank you very much, Madison. Do they prefer soft or older stem cuttings, rooting hormones, or prayers? Maybe all of that.
Yeah, prayers for sure, yeah.
Are mealybugs soil or airborne? The mealybugs themselves will be, they're not in your soil. The eggs have been laid on your plants. And they originally, they do fly at some point, but mostly they crawl.
For those of us that don't know what a mealybug looks like, how would you describe it on air?
The end of a Q-tip.
Yeah. That's the ones we're talking about.
And sticky.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought that's the ones you were referring to, but so those are going to be.
That's what they look like.
You're going to bring them inside generally.
Yeah, they'll be there, but they will not have hatched, and you won't even know they're there. Now, that is one reason, of course, why people will routinely spray all their plants a week or two before they bring them in the house, just to kind of get an edge on things. And that's why I said, because this person, man or woman, has had an infestation, I believe you might want to use something preventative. That is to say, the systemic house plant insecticide. I think it might be a good idea. In terms of rooting them, they're not the easiest to root. I think tip cuttings, maybe 4 inches long, are going to be easier than cuttings that are woodier. And I would take the flower off, cut off half of each leaf. Don't take off the leaves, but cut half of them to reduce the area that transpires while you're doing this. Roll them in rooting hormone, put them into a little bitty pot, each one in a little tiny pot that is really well-drained potting mix. Water it once, and then put like a mason jar or something over the top of it to increase the humidity around that stem until it can rot. Excuse me. It is complicated, but it's not that difficult to do. Once you get started doing that, it makes perfectly good sense. So I like it. The turnips have come up, but the mustard has not. When can I plant rutabaga and beets? You can plant beets today. If you can find some rutabaga, you can plant it too. Rutabaga is not my thing, but a lot of people really love it, and I just think that that's wonderful. But yes, we're planting garlic today, and can I replant mustard? These are such great questions. Yes, if your soil is dry, water it, and then come back a couple hours later and sow those mustard seeds. Then basically take the back of your hand or the back of some tool and just push them into the soil gently. Sometimes we plant those too deep. Or sometimes we plant them and we cover them, and then the rain comes and they all wash away. So that happens too. I have not grown rutabaga. I have been where it was growing. Well, it's beautiful. But the problem is heat. So I would try it. I would try getting it into the ground now and see what you can do. See how it's going to work.
The name just doesn't make you want to eat it. It's like you're talking about a Studebaga or the Rutabaga. You know, I'm like, you, some people really love it though, right?
I have had rutabaga in pie, but it always had something else in it, cherries or strawberries or something. And so the folks who tell me that rutabaga itself just basically cooked down is going to be very sweet, I've never experienced that. But I don't grow rutabaga, so maybe I don't have enough to play with. We're going to start this conversation and keep it going for another couple of weeks, probably.
I was more than just like you look at it and you're like, oh, I don't know about that, but
well, and I'll tell you what else is in that nobody thinks about right now. People are harvesting mirlitons. I saw one of the gardeners from Hattiesburg sent me this, and basically the mirliton came up in their compost heap.
Okay.
So they let the vine go on and grow, but there's so much nutrition in the compost that it fed this thing beautifully. It grew up over the fence and onto the little roof of the little shed. Harvested 57 mirlitons from this one escapee vine that they didn't even plant. Isn't that fun? I mean, we have to take advantage. I realize there are people that are good enough that pumpkins pop up in their compost and they're able to grow those, but mirlitons are not as easy.
I love the way that it's described too. The rutabaga tastes like a cross between a potato and a turnip, with a sweet and earthy flavor and slightly bitter cabbage-like bite when raw. When cooked, though, the rutabaga becomes sweeter and creamier.
That is too confusing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what's always gotten me about a rutabaga. Like, what am I supposed to taste here?
How is this supposed? How do I know if it's any good?
Then it turns into, once you cook it, it's sweeter and creamier with a taste similar to a Yukon Gold potato, but with a more complex, savory taste. Its flavor profile is earthy and sweet, but buttery and bitter.
There is nothing about a Yukon Gold. Okay, now we're going to have to explore rutabaga. All right.
I've always been. I'm like, this is so much going on here. I mean, what am I doing? And when you throw cabbage in there too, you're like, okay.
That kind of throws me off. I gotta say, I've had enough trouble in my life trying to talk people into eating cabbage. I don't want them to think they need to eat rutabaga because it tastes like cabbage.
Just take the rutabaga. It tastes just like cabbage.
I don't think that's going to work. But back to this texter's other question, which was, can I plant garlic now? Well, yes. I have been going on about this now for several days. If you have to order from somewhere, do it right now. Order it today because it's going to take several days for it to arrive. But if you have a garden center or if you have a co-op or if you have a friend who grows garlic, they've all got some garlic. ready for you to plant. Yes, it is better to plant what is called seed garlic than it is to plant the garlic from the grocery store. Why is this? Well, mainly because the garlic that is in your grocery store has been intentionally treated so that it will not sprout. So yes, if you go and find some that is untreated garlic, it's probably going to sprout just fine, but so is seed garlic, and you'll be able to be more certain of what variety you're getting when you buy it from a reputable dealer. So there are a couple of different kinds of basic garlic. You always read these terms, soft neck and hard neck, but what does that mean? The hard neck ones are the ones that when you see braids in the springtime, hanging in the farmer's market, that's a hard neck garlic. But for the most part, they do need more cold exposure. So, for example, the varieties, rocambole, there's several different varieties of rocambole, and there are some heat-tolerant versions of that. And porcelain is also semi-heat tolerant. But if you are in the area north of Winona, these are your babies. I mean, these are just perfect for you. So Purple Stripes is my favorite of the hard necks. It's a really great garlic, delicious, very spicy tasting. But you can also, of course, grow elephant garlic in that area. Soft neck types have funny names. Susanville, those all come from California, and so they were bred out there, and they're named for the town. Enchilium red is another one that's a little bit different that has great heat tolerance. It's a good coastal choice. I like Creole. Creole is not named for the Creoles who came here. The Creole garlic is actually French, and I believe it probably went with them to the United States and then came down here and got interbred with some of our local garlics. That's why it's a little bit different than everything else, but it is one that is well known around the world now, called Creole. It is a darker pod, and I like the darker clove, and I like that. Another name that you might see is artichoke. That's another real good soft neck garlic. Now, the next question is to peel or not to peel. That is the question. The answer is don't. That tiny, thin, what you would think doesn't mean a thing, little bit of papery covering is going to help that clove of garlic sprout because it's going to keep it from getting too wet, going to help it not be too dry, and it's going to be a slight barrier against insect problems should there be any in the area. So leave that all handy. Once the plants are up and growing, it's good to fertilize them. It's also good to keep a bucket of mulch nearby just in case of really, really cold or super, super wet periods of time, so you can give them just a little bit of protection and they can keep on growing. And they will. Garlic's pretty tough. It'll do what you need it to, and it'll take care of. Quite frankly, we'll talk about harvest again next spring. I love that conversation because it's always, well, when do I harvest? You can't set your clock or your calendar. You do have to give it the opportunity to give yourself some chances to understand how garlic grows. So we'll get on to that. There we go with the rutabagas. Oh, my goodness. Y'all, we're going to have a tasting. I'm sorry. This is just too much for me. This is Louise. Okay, Louise, we're ready. I'm sending Lance first.
I'm in.
Rob from Faulkner has 4 Anna apple trees. All right. They're 2 years old, and for the most part, they're doing well, 6 to 8 feet tall. One of the 4 trees had leaves turning yellow, and now it has none. Yes, that does happen. We will have that, what's called premature defoliation. And he said the limb seems to still be alive. The tree just had to sacrifice something. I don't think that's a big problem. Some of them are a little bit dry on the ends or dying. You probably are not going to get any fruit for another couple of years at least. But you do need to grow these on in a very healthy way. So don't prune them now. Go ahead and rake any leaves that come off early and give yourself a good look at them. Make sure you don't have any insect problems. You probably don't, but just in case, take a look at that. And then as soon as all the leaves fall off of those apple trees, get yourself some horticulture oil spray. It'll be called ultrafine or seasonal oil or something. And when the weather's cool, you can spray the trees up and down with it. That helps to protect them against an assortment of invaders. But then when we get to January, of course, we'll prune the apple trees, get them fertilized, and get them ready for another year of growth. I love Anna apples. I don't know if anybody here has tasted them. They are delicious, and they are the choice in the Deep South many times because they need less chilling hours, but they also have, frankly, a better bearing habit than some of our heirlooms do. So that's really great. Thanks, Rob. I look forward to hearing more about it. Let's see. Okay, we've got you some restaurant recommendations now, Lance. But they do not have shrimp and merlaton. Yeah, that's my Thanksgiving dinner dish. Do you know that? Okay, I cut my rutabagas into shoestring fries. This is gonna be tough. Sometimes ranch, but putting the Smith County love to it, they're not necessarily healthier. Then topping them with melting cheese and sour cream. Well, you can do that with anything, and it would be all right with me. I mean, come on. I love the idea, though, of getting the rutabagas into the party. Y'all know that's another that's another one that's not my very favorite. I love this whole discussion. We'll be having some oh my goodness, rhubarbs and rutabagas. Good grief.
There we go. Like two words there that are just like they could have decided wonderful. On something else to make it more appealing. But it's almost like they were trying to keep you away from it because it was some hidden secret.
People really prize their rutabagas now. I don't know. They may not want you to have them. They may not want you to even participate in that particular one. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, yeah, I can do this. I have been collecting mother-in-law's tongues, ever since
these words.
Ever since I became a mother-in-law.
God, the people in the plant world, they're just the most interesting.
Well, we don't have a lot of things to amuse us, okay? They're also called snake plants, if that helps. Yeah, I'm not sure which is worse.
And snake, they go together, right?
They do. No, they kind of do. No.
Mother-in-laws get a bad rap.
They do. I certainly feel that way. But the good news is that there's a bunch of them. I'm still collecting them, and I love that as a group of plants to collect because it's so much fun. Well, now I've decided to take on vining succulents. If y'all have ever grown string of pearls, it's a senecio that literally does form a string of pearls, and it falls out of these little containers. It's just beautiful, beautiful plant. But there's a whole bunch of them. And I am excited about fishhook senecio. It's another one that just has this long, thin stem, and for some reason the senecio has developed to grow these literally fishhook-looking things, structures off the side of it. I love these plants. They're so much fun to me, and they're also really fun to grow because they're truly, honestly, they're the plants that you have to let dry out between waterings. How many of us have come into a room and seen the peace lily starting to wilt and realize we didn't water quite soon enough? These won't do that. These appreciate being left to dry out before they are watered again. Not entirely dried out. You don't want the stuff to start falling off, the leaves to drop, but you can do a whole lot more with them, and I love all of them. Today's is fish hooks. We'll have one a week until I get to my collection. So much fun. These are all vining succulents. If you grow them, by all means, send me some pictures. I love seeing what other folks are doing. I don't know if you play chess. I don't think we've ever had this conversation.
Who, me? I like chess. Yeah, it's been a while.
Today is chess day, and I learned something that I'm going to bring to you in the next segment. You think you know something? You get up one day and somebody teaches you something else. I kind of like that. We're sharing all of our instrumental favorites with you today, here on the Garden Mama Show. Ah, yes, indeed. Whatever you're doing this weekend, I trust it will involve something green, something gardening. Maybe you'll go out and, I don't know, enjoy something. Take a look at those flowers you planted that are still blooming. Maybe you'll take a ride and there'll be sunflowers all over the place. Maybe you'll take a ride and there'll be goldenrod. By the way, neither of those make you sneeze, so don't blame them. I can't blame them either. Wonderful stuff. Interesting information today. People are sending me all kinds of fun stuff to do about whether it's rutabaga or rhubarb. We've got all these things going in here today. It's just really fun stuff to think about and talk about. I don't know about growing rhubarb in the deep south. I know there are people who do, but it's kind of like hard squash. You might can grow, for example, you might have real good success growing butternut and acorn, but when it gets into the Hubbards and the others that are like bigger than your arm, sometimes those have a harder time, just like smaller pumpkins sometimes can be easier to grow than the ones that are really gigantic. I look forward to this time of year. This is when y'all start sending me pictures of the pumpkins that you grew, and that's always fun to look at and fun to do. I hesitate to say that this is also, I love yarn day, and y'all know that I crochet. I do not knit, but I love to crochet. I've done a few other weavy kind of things in my time, and I know y'all will start sending me those pictures too, which I will appreciate tremendously and enjoy greatly, because it's so interesting that whether it's it's all about interlocking fibers. I've talked about before how when I had a Samoyed dog, I became aware of the fact that people, when they brush their dogs, they save all of that and then they turn it into yarn and they make hats and sweaters and scarves and all sorts of things, not necessarily for the dog, but for themselves. But we have an awful lot of things that actually can be yarn. It can be a wool like that, but cotton and silk and linen, and of course even some of the polyester materials. I like to crochet with a yarn that is not wool, because, well, frankly, wool makes me itch. So we have lots and lots of choices in the yarn world, thank goodness. We got yarn, but we've also got yarn. You know, I like to tell a good yarn as well as to crochet a good yarn. So those are all things you can celebrate today without even blinking. It's my party today. Maybe we should have a yarn party. I don't know. Fun stuff. Thinking about some of the plants that you're seeing today, though, at SuperTalk.tv, and of course that you will see as you look at the program a little bit later on. Perhaps the most dramatic one is the moon rising over the golden rain tree. The flowers are beautiful, bright fuchsia pink, and it was an early morning last week that I was able to capture that shot. It's a fun plant. It's one that we don't grow everywhere. It's another one that someone sent me a note about a couple of weeks ago and said he's planting golden rain trees north of Jackson, Mississippi, because he anticipates that the weather is going to continue, the climate rather is going to continue to warm up and they won't be frozen. I don't know if that's true, but I do put them in the category of things like oleander, that will sometimes be frozen to the ground maybe every 5 years or so, and they still do come back. So I've seen that plant in a hedge form, and I've also seen it in a tree form. It's beautiful either way, particularly because the yellow flowers give way to these beautiful pink bracts. It's a big deal. It's a fun plant to have. So I was telling y'all that I learned something, and sometimes, oh my goodness. I do not play chess. I appreciate chess very much. I follow play when other people are playing. It's just not something that I ever took up. But my friend who played more chess than anybody else was a fellow who was Persian. And he told me that the game came from Persia. And I have thought for many, many years now that it was shatrang, and that was where it came from. Well, we're all a little bit prejudiced when it comes to our own roots, aren't we? Because the game came to Persia from India, and a friend of mine who is of Indian heritage tried to tell me that, and I went, well, because I was thinking the Persians were more ancient. Of course they're not. 6th century in the Common Era, Chaturanga, which represented the 4 divisions of the Indian army, the infantry, the cavalry, the elephants, and the chariots. And that is the Indian game. It was played with 4 people, but it was played in the same way as chess on a board with the figures representing things. Then it went on to Persia, and it became a slightly different game, of course, more like the one that we know today. However, moving right along to the 15th century, for goodness sakes, you know, human beings being what we are, you have to change the rules. Change the rules? What? Yep. This is how it ended up. This is how we ended up having the queen and the bishop be so powerful, and the pawns be even less so than they were. So, interestingly enough, that's the history of chess. That's pieces of chess, and it will help your brain develop to learn to play chess. I have no doubt about that. I enjoy watching it. I was taught to watch more than I was taught to play, so I enjoy it. But I don't know if everybody would. I hope you would. If you haven't run into a kid or somebody that plays a lot of chess, make sure you get to meet somebody, because it's a fun. As I say, it's a fun thing to watch as well as it is to do.
You run across somebody that knows what they're doing too, and you're going to get beat within 3 or 4 moves. It's amazing to watch somebody that studied it and knows tactics. But it is a really interesting
because we all think about the moves that we understood, that we have seen famous people play over the years, and you can follow those, and it's fun. And you think, well, why didn't this person do that? And there's usually a reason, because there are so many. They're literally thinking 4 moves ahead all the time, and I think that may be what that's why I thought it was Persian and not Indian. So I listened to the wrong person. The first world championship was not held until 1886, but believe you me, it's been around a lot longer than that. Ancient India, ancient Persia. A game for the brain, as they say. I am fascinated with the yarn. In a yarn is thought of as the tale that you spin. You're talking about. We've talked here about the need to talk about. If you talk about things in your own history, you need to also be looking at things in the daytime, today, and talk about those too. And in fact, both of those things can be yarns. You could be spinning a yarn about all the people that you met at the grocery store. Or you could be spinning a yarn about the journey that you took across Texas when you were 2 years old, and how things you remember about that. I mean, we all have a story to tell, and that's why the yarn is, we think of it as something that's a little too long. They spun that yarn and it went on for a little bit too long. That's why we have editors, so that when we write those stories down, and I hope you are writing all your stories down, by all means, you can record them too. You don't have to put them in physical typing, but give yourself a chance to get those stories where somebody else can take a look at them and go, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to hold on to this idea. Where else are you going to hear it except in a yarn from someone? If we're in New Zealand, though, it can actually mean a conversation, so I guess we yarn each other at that point. I don't know. Interesting, though. Do you know that there are yarns and then there are threads? The yarns of, for example, are the ones that there's more than one strand, but in terms of threads, those are singles that have been pulled out to make one piece of thread. So the thread is oftentimes considered part of the yarn. You've got, you can pull that thread, as they always talk about that. Somebody will tell you a story, and you say, well, now, wait a minute. Pull that thread about Arizona for a minute. Tell me some more about that. Or pull that story about the restaurant that you went to that served stuffed mirliton. Tell me about that. And those are where the threads come out from the yarn. So interesting stuff. English is such an interesting language. We baffle other people all the time with it. I hope that as you are thinking about what you're doing in the garden this particular week, all y'all who planted carrots 2 weeks ago are going to get out there and take a look, because they're up now, and quite frankly, they probably need to be thinned. If there are 3 or 4 things that people will remember that I said, it's always that, I know you told me to thin it. They come up and say, you told me to thin these, but I didn't do it. Or, can I still thin them? Thinning is best done to small plants. Something less than 3 inches tall is really better, because you've got an established plant. It has more than one leaf on it. It's not just a little seedling that sent up its little head to poke out into the sky and see what was going on. It's actually got some growth on it. And yes, at that point, we hope that you would be able to reach in between them and slip them out of the soil. If that seems to even vaguely, if the 2 plants are right next to each other, though, if it even seems like it could possibly disturb the one that you want to leave, cut them out with a small pair of scissors. Cut them out. They'll be fine. Then you can oftentimes use the tip of the scissors to reach in and go ahead and get a little bit more of the root out of there. But you're trying not to, thinning is not designed to disrupt the plants that you're trying to leave in the row. So that's one reason why we say, please plant at a reasonable spacing. But I know you don't, because I don't. I'm always afraid, well, what if it doesn't come up? I don't want this to be an empty space. The weeds will grow here. So we sow 2 close together. And then you have to come back and learn to weed. It's really important, and I hope that you are. That's how you get turnips, you know. If you sow all those turnips, the seeds, then you've got the opportunity to come in and thin them and eat the turnip thinnings. They're delicious. And that makes room, because you got to have 3 or 4 inches, you know, for a purple top turnip to develop. Probably 4 would be better, and 3 would be great for something small like a Tokyo Cross. But give yourself the opportunity to enjoy what you just grew, what you just sprouted, because there's people out there trying to do that. They're not as successful as you are. Some really fun stuff going on in the world of gardening. Mark was talking last week about some of the events coming up, and I really do hope that y'all are following him, Mark Peaches Patrick, on social media, because he will always tell you the fun things. He's got a list all the time going of what's happening at Crosby Arboretum, or what's happening with the Master Gardeners in Memphis, or, you know, everywhere in between. So I hope that you're enjoying them. Let's see, we've got another video coming to us this morning. Ooh, beautiful field. Just beautiful. Really looks happy, gorgeous, and very, very green. Thank you. Really pretty today. Beautiful sky, too. Isn't that nice? We're so lucky. We live on planet Earth. We are very fortunate. The most beautiful part of it, too, as far as I'm concerned. Haven't seen all of it, but the Deep South is always going to be my favorite. All right, now I want to tell you a little bit of something about this, if I've got a moment to do this, because it's so crazy. We talk about how much energy is spent in this world trying to help us, me, you, somebody else, help us control our weight so that we can live at a happy, healthy weight. I've told the story before. I was a lot happier as a person when I weighed probably 60 pounds more than I do now. But my knees were not very happy. You know, my cooking was happy, my curves were happy, but I couldn't manage it. Some people can, I couldn't. So that's what has ended up being the happy part for me. But why can't we just say, okay, body, I need to lose 5 pounds, let's get rid of it? Well, one day you may be able to. We've talked about the different kinds of fat before here, and it did cause some people to send me some unpleasant emails. But the whole thing about it is we have different kinds of fat, okay? We have white fat in our bodies. White fat stores energy. Muscle is another situation, uses it immediately. But brown fat is there. Brown fat's the one that we can't get rid of. And in part, we don't want to, because it keeps you from freezing to death in certain circumstances. It keeps your body warmer than it would be without it. Let's put it that way. So scientists have long suggested that activating this deep inside the fat tissue, how could we get this to work in our favor? And they have now found the system that helps the body use up those calories without any exercise. And that, of course, is through the use of encouraging the brown fat, the part that keeps us warm. Think of it as the backup heater, the backup system. And if you get cold, it kicks in. We talk sometimes about, in weight loss, we often talk about the effects that you end up having where you feel differently because you've reduced your intake so much. And this seems to be that same kind of thing. We're going to figure it out, though. One of these days, we're going to be able to say, turn on that heater over there. You need to lose 5 pounds. Meanwhile, by the way, hey, Lance, the Zydeco Festival's coming up before too long.
That's what I'm talking about.
But right now, we just got you some good Cajun music. I have a feeling it must be the Balfa Brothers, but we will be right back. Ah, yes. I think we're going to have to start teaching Cajun French here.
Yeah, we'll have like the first minute or two, we'll throw out a Cajun word and
that's right.
From one of the Balfour Brothers songs and see if anybody can guess it.
We'll have some fun. We will have lots and lots of fun. That's how, of course, you learn anything is immersion. You have to stick your feet in the water. Hey, now, when I say to you, Southern food, what do y'all think? Interestingly enough, I don't know what I think. It's up there with mirlitons. It's up there with corn on the cob. Oh my goodness, so many wonderful things. But today is in fact Southern Food Heritage Day, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to eat.
That breakfast that we were looking at a moment ago.
That would have been about perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been about perfect. I'm looking at southernfood.org, who are the National Food and Beverage Foundation folks that do the Southern food thing that are doing this. And there's so many choices. I don't know how anybody decides. I really don't. I like that they have sort of picked okra as basically their logo, because that's real Southern. I mean, that's
you'd have to go
you're not going to find that anywhere else.
Fried chicken or a fried piece of steak, country fried steak, and gravy's always Southern. But okra has to be on the list, because I think you could go anywhere else in the country and they'd be like, what is this?
What is that?
What are you eating again?
And people do that. People, people are very, very shy about okra, and yet they would, pay $40 for a beautiful hibiscus plant, take it home and enjoy it. But they don't realize it's the same family.
No, I didn't know that.
If you look at the flower of an okra plant, it's a hibiscus. That's what it is. That's how come it looks like that. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should eat the seeds of all the other hibiscus, but when we get to the hibiscus that we make tea with, we're still essentially eating the same part. We're eating that fruit.
We're drinking okra.
We're drinking it at the same time. And I'll vote for that. But there is something about chicken. There is something about I believe that as soon as anybody was able to keep chickens, I have said before, and I'm not the least bit ashamed of it. My family crawled out of being sharecroppers. They came up to work for the railroad, and then when they got from that, they went on up a little further, and some of them became preachers and one thing and another. But we have definitely chosen what we eat based on what we couldn't have. So I think sometimes that love for the best steak comes from the fact that somewhere back in the annals of my family's history, there wasn't any. So,
well, you also
chicken.
go up to Northeast Mississippi where you have the slug burger where you
that was a World War II. Yeah, there was
little ground beef,
whatever there was,
and then some dough. Yeah, and
whatever there
was. It out. But that's entirely Southern. And you really only find that in one place in the South.
That's right. You'll hear people talk about that all over the country, though, because it is so well known as a specific. It's like coffee with chicory. Do you understand? Chicory was there because there wasn't any coffee. It's the same reason there's acorn coffee, is because there wasn't any coffee. It was something that had caffeine in it that could be brewed that people would drink. And now we embrace a little bit of those things in our world today. It's just interesting to me what we think of as Southern and what we think of as food heritage. There's obviously things in everybody's family that you wish mother wouldn't cook again, or that grandma had never invented, or any of that kind of stuff. In my family, it will forever be the time that I was embarrassed myself by making ham and lima beans into a macaroni and cheese. That was not a good idea.
You could have made it worse by throwing some green peas in there.
It was really not a good idea. It's probably the only thing I've ever cooked that no one would eat, including me. So things you think, and they don't necessarily work out that way.
Yeah, it's just an experiment, right? I mean, food is. Somebody, we keep saying, somebody had to figure out how to fry that chicken leg just right.
Really, somebody had to think of this, Now, I have not asked you, and it's on my list, so I have to do this. I have not inquired as to the health of your ryegrass this week. Everybody growing?
It is luxurious.
Oh, good, good.
I will say that I am so impressed. I will recommend anyone, if you're going to go with the ryegrass, pay up. Trust me.
There are choices.
Yeah, there are choices out there, and definitely talk to your local co-op or whomever, like Lakeland Yard and Garden or the Landing or wherever you are, and tell them that you want a golf course or a football field quality carpet. Don't go.
You're trying to impress yourself and somebody else.
And you talk about 10 to 12 days later, you're going to have. If you overseed, and you water it and you take care of it, in about 10 or 12 days, you're going to see a completely new yard emerge. Now, if you did it like me, where you dug it up from ground up, pulled the roots, everything, you'll see it a little quicker because there's nothing it's mixing in with. But after
no competition.
there's no comp. After about 6 or 7 days, though, you're going to see a nice green palette there that is beautiful. So I'm about 13, 14 days in, and it is the golf course grass is really matured. It's about 4 inches tall, and that's about where it tops out. So if you want to cut it, then you can cut it much tighter than you would normal rye. So, and then as you and I discussed about, when we get to late April, early May, we start, mixing in other seeds.
Yeah, we'll start giving you some other lawn.
So, but yeah, it's amazing. And then the back.
For those of you who are just catching up with us, Lance took out the dreaded tallow tree.
Yes, oh God.
So now there's space for the yard.
It is amazing the sunshine that came through after that. The tallow was a beautiful tree, but it is extremely pollutant to your yard. And I took a industrial tiller and dug about 8 inches all through the yard, and you can't imagine the number and amount of those little berries that were that deep.
Every one of them was looking for a home.
Golly.
And sadly, we have no video of this because he forgot to put on his, GoPro helmet.
Well, I considered it, but I felt like it would be a comedy of errors, and I don't really like myself, on TV to begin with.
It's more fun to talk about it.
Yeah,
anyway
just laugh about it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a good experience, and second time I've done it, but this time I think I did it right. And I'm anxious to see how it'll hold up.
Well, that's an important point. We do learn from our experiences. The first time that I ever used rooting hormone, I went to stick this little stem into the jar of rooting hormone. And fortunately, somebody grabbed my hand and said, no.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. The stuff will ruin and you'll never be able to use it again. You pour a little bit of it out. And that's the same thing as the last year. I know that you flung seed everywhere.
I did. I went with
this year you did a better job.
Right,
this year you did a better job.
Well, I went with a kind of a quick fix last year because the yard just died so quickly on me through the summer, and I said I got to do something. So I went with just a basic rye, and it did its job. It really hung on.
Well, and that's what we're hoping for, is that it will hold on to the soil, prevent erosion, and give you something to dig in the next year. So that's what you've done. You've done a good job.
Well, and I have one question before you get out of here, because we will be parachuting out shortly, but it says, lost you to sports, but I did have a question. Do you sell your coffee in pods? No. That coffee comes to you in a ground up, beautiful bag of Garden Mama blend, and it is.
But I'll be happy to tell you where you can get your own pods to
I was going to say, but you can find those little pods that are actually made for you to put whatever coffee you want in it, and then put it into your Keurig or whatever. Check online for that, or usually a lot of places carry those things like Walmart. So it's just a three little pack of pods that you just pour your coffee in and then pop it in, just like you would your normal.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I'm going to give myself a little praise here. Dave from Ripley sent the picture of the plant that he planted rather from seed, and the plant identifier said it was spinach. I said it was coneflower, and in fact it is, and it's in bloom today. So I won. Thank you. Appreciate you telling me that, Dave. Every now and then, I get one right. We got to get out of here. We'll see you next week.
You beat the machine.
See you next week.